Traditionally, if we just look at a commercial road network, the trunk roads, you would probably run the program HDM4 or RED or one of the other programs that prioritize your roads and even tell you what work is supposed to be done on them, and certainly give you a budget for it. And that is fine for your trunk road network, really, because it's based basically on vehicle operating cost and saving of vehicle operating cost depending on the condition of the road. But when you broaden that out to the rural road network and even down further into rural access, you cannot use vehicle operating cost savings as the criteria for which roads are to receive the highest priority. You've got to have a multi-criteria approach which looks at what the community who are using those roads needs. And it might be commercial vehicles to come in to bring in farm produce, but it equally may be getting the children to school or getting patients to hospital or to the health center.
Planning for rural roads starts with prioritization, you see, because the needs the needs are many, so you need to prioritize. And if the planners involve those who are going to be affected or those who are going to use the road network in the prioritization, like for instance, planners need to ask during the stakeholder consultations, they need to ask the villagers where the road will be leading to, like for instance, leading to a hospital or to a market or to any social activity or to an economic activity. So, and if you could ask them their priorities, to rank the priorities, then they'll be able to give their preferences.
Whether things have changed from a more rigid civil engineering approach to a more participatory one, it's difficult to say. I think in some areas things have changed, in others it hasn't. There's a lot of compartmentalisation of budgets, and of course most roads are constructed by either national or local government entities. There's often competition within those institutions for budgets, and the organisations like to do their own thing. Collaboration between sectors is often not that good. In some cases you see roads that have been built by, for example, a forest department, and sometimes those are done very well and very sensitively, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just done recklessly, and it's as if the forest department had a civil engineer who didn't care anything about the forest and just bulldozed a road through it so that it ends up eroding or failing and the forest is damaged. If you have that happening in an agricultural sector, forest sector or whatever, then perhaps it's naive to expect that you'll have cross-sectoral collaboration. But it does happen sometimes. It has in places there's more participation. And of course in some rural road projects there's been very good participation at local level, where village roads are built very much in consultation with the communities. If you look at communities alongside national roads, they tend to be much more in conflict with the infrastructure than those around very small local roads. So although you think, yes, those communities have benefited from being beside a national road, actually they maybe haven't as well as if they were beside a village road, because the conflict between them and the road construction and lack of maintenance or mismanaged maintenance means that there's too much damage to land that shouldn't be happening as a result of that national infrastructure.
So we're constrained in our thinking in one way, but then there are other benefits. And I've just been involved in, I carried out a systematic review of rural road investments. This showed that there were much greater benefits were coming from rural roads than you would conceivably imagine from purely, a mechanistic application of HDM4 or of the RED models.
So if we make roads which are not used, where there are no transport services, Well, we could say that they are as good as not necessarily useless, but really they are not really serving the purpose. Because the purpose of roads or footpaths, or I mean, you can even say a crossing somewhere to enable a motorcycle or a bicycle to cross over to another place. So if it's not there, then we are really not addressing the transport needs of the society.
When we look at the infrastructure side, that is about transport services, the boda boda and the mobile phone. We are not considering, when we look at the infrastructure network, we go down as far as maybe rural access roads or minor roads in the road network system. But we don't consider possibly that there is a lower class of roads, again, a lower class of access that we should be engineering for, and that is for the rickshaw, the motorized rickshaw, the bicycle, and the motorcycle taxi. That is now a big part of rural transport that we need to take account of.
Looking at the use of motorcycles in the rural context, undoubtedly there's been a big change in sub-Saharan Africa. So there's an impact there on how you design your road. But also you have to look 10, 20 years in advance. Do you confine the commune to a series of motorcycle roads, or do you think a bit further forward? Initially, the research indicates that to build the road first, to build a motorcycle track first and move up from that. But there is some resistance to that by villagers who say, no, we want to have a proper road, thank you very much. There is an area to look at in the design of these roads. There's a concept to be aware of on the engineering side, the difference between the capacity of a road to take these vehicles and the impact these roads have on the thickness of the design. It's a different thing. For example, in Myanmar, they still use a lot of oxen-drawn carts. And these, in terms of road design, get a high value, not because of the impact they have on the road, but because the space they take up on the road. So you have to design a road not only for the physical impact of the vehicles, but also the space they take up and the space-time they take up.
The key lessons that we can take from my experience in network planning over the years is the fact that we really do have to look at the network as a whole and take a holistic approach to the whole network of infrastructure that is rural access and indeed urban access, and prioritize our work based on people's both mode and direction or travel criteria, so that you really have to do a multi-criteria planning exercise to do it.